Hey, welcome to MikeScottBaseball.com. Right now I'm just going to talk about a couple things about pitching and balks. Okay, it's important to understand for you young guys coming up what a balk is, what to avoid, and make sure that you don't get penalized for it. You can have a balk from the windup. This happens a lot when there's a runner on third base, or maybe you can still go from the windup or bases loaded. Okay, if you step off with the wrong foot, if you're here, okay, when you step off with your left foot, let's say that you don't like what's going on, the catcher can't give you a signal that you like. If you step off with your glove side foot first, that can be considered a balk because it looks like you're starting to go into your windup. Whenever you're going to step off from the windup, you step off with your throwing arm side, your throwing arm foot. So right now, if I don't like what I see in here, okay, or I want to switch and I want to go to the stretch, I'll see a lot of guys that switch and they want to go from the stretch. They figure it out while they're on the mound. I step off with my right foot, okay, my right throwing arm, okay, my right foot, and now I become an infielder, and now I can go do my stretch position if I want. So let's start talking about the stretch position and balks here. Let's talk about a basic one, okay? At any point in your windup, if you drop the ball, okay, if I drop it from here as I'm coming up, or even if I'm right here, if I drop the ball right now, okay, that is considered a balk, okay? That's considered a balk, so don't drop the ball, okay? Next thing I want to talk about, change of direction, okay? Change of direction or no pause in the set position. So right in here, if I come to this spot right here and I never come to a pause, if I do not come to a pause, that is a balk, okay? I need to come to a pause right here. I need to stop for a moment. Some will call it a change of direction. Okay, you actually have to come to a pause, but mostly make sure you come to a complete stop. Even if it's just for an instant, it has to come to a stop. Okay, anything where you just kind of keep motion, okay, that's considered a balk. Okay, next thing we talk about, hesitation. You see hesitations a lot. Okay, now right here I'm getting my signal from my catcher. If I start to come up and then I say, oh wait, I still didn't get all my signals, that's a balk. Okay, so if I get my signal here, I cannot come up and then come back down. I have to come all the way back up. Okay, I have to come to a pause right here. All right. Again, if you're not sure what you want to do, just step off the back and start all over again. Okay, again, glove side, throwing side foot, just step it off, you're all set. Okay, throwing side foot off makes you an infielder. So, hesitations. In this area right here, okay, before I come up to the set position, I can move my shoulders. Okay, I can move a little bit here. But once I get to this spot right here, okay, I can't move my shoulders anymore. If I move my shoulders or little twitches with my knees, okay, or my legs, either one, okay, little twitches, those can be called balks. Now, my head can move as much as I want. I can turn it as far as I want. I can even do these little jab moves to make it look like I'm going home. The head can do whatever it wants, okay, but the shoulders and the body, the hips, the legs, the feet, okay, these all have to come to a stop. So right in here, okay, this is fine. But this is not. You cannot move those shoulders. That's why I teach guys sometimes to be a little bit open, okay, so they can get a little bit better look at the guy at first over there. Okay, that way their shoulders are partially turned. Again, you just have to make sure you get them back on line before you go home. So, another balk, okay, stepping to an unoccupied base. If you come up in here, let's say that we have guys right now on first and third. Okay, now I can step towards third, okay, and then, you know, that's fine. Okay, you see this third to first move where they step towards third, they fake that way, and then they come back to first base trying to get that guy. That's okay, but you cannot step towards third. If there's nobody on third and there's just a guy at first, you can't step towards third and then try to pick the guy off first. You must step to a base where a runner is occupying that base right at that point. So you'll see some guys that have kick-over moves to second base, and they don't really kick it over. They kind of land in this area right in here. You got to turn. You got to get your whole body turned, stepping towards a base when you're doing this. So same thing when you're going to first. Okay, you can't step like this. Okay, and then throw to first. You got to get your body turned. For lefties, we'll talk about that in an upcoming lesson about lefty moves to first, balks, and good pickoff moves. So, but for the righty right now, okay, step towards an occupied base. Last one I'm going to talk about, and this is a first or third move. This is something that coaches need to watch out for. I've seen kids where they do this. They will do the third to first move, but they do this. They come down and they don't actually step towards this base. They just kind of land it right here, right next to their other foot, and then they turn and they go to first. They're not stepping towards third. They cannot come up and put this foot right down here, because this makes it look like, you know, it's a much quicker move to come here and then go to first. So if you're doing a third to first move, okay, you must step towards third, okay? You must make a movement, okay? You must step that way, fake that way, and turn and go to first. You cannot bring that foot, land it right next to your other one, and turn and go to first, okay? So there are other small balk rules, but those cover the basics right there. Just remember, be in control. There's no rush right here. You get your signals from your catcher. Make sure you're completely set with your catcher. Check your runners. Make sure you can see your runners. A lot of faults coming from not being able to see something or rushing. Okay? So take your time. If you don't like what you see or you're not sure, step off with your throwing hand foot. You become an infielder, everything is fine again. Okay? Alright.
I'm Bugsy, and we're going to talk about balks today, but the real simple ones. We're not going to get into all the fancy different balks you see as you get into the higher levels, how they try to cheat and so forth. We'll start right with the basics, what you should know. And in youth ball, when you start calling balks, you're going to start calling the balks that are real obvious. You're not going to try to be some kind of big league umpire and look for every little thing. We want to let them play. And so let's just start with the basics. When they're with nobody on bases and they're pitching, they can do one of two things. They can start in the full windup, this being a glove, of course, and your ball right here, and they can be like this. They can have their hands like this to the side. It's just got to be full. That's the full windup. And then they take a step back, and then whatever their motion is, so on and so forth. Now they can also work from the set position, which, as you can see by the camera here, is a little muddy. As long as they're on the rubber, that can mean in front of the rubber or right on top of the rubber. This right here is what we call the rubber, as many of you already know. They can do this with nobody on, and they come set, and then they pitch from there. Okay, so that's your two positions. They can do that with runners on too, for that matter, but usually with runners on, they're taught to be in the set position. All right, and we'll get into something in some of the balks you'll see if they forget to get in the set. If they got a runner on and the guy gets like this, what is he supposed to do? So we'll get to that here in the very near future. Let's just stick to the basics now. All right. One of the things in the set position, when there are runners on, everybody, when they come to a set, they must come to a stop. You hear the word pause, but it really is a stop. It's what we, and you should define it that way to yourself, as a stop. The generic word used around in a lot of amateur leagues is pause, but we always knew it in pro ball, and you should know it too. We should trickle it down to everybody in amateur ball that it has to be a stop. A discernible stop is what they say in the rule book. So, if a man starts like this, and he comes up like this, and he stops, that's okay. Okay? Now, when I got a runner on first, I can look at him with my head a little bit, but I cannot turn my shoulder. Okay? I cannot turn my shoulder, but I can look over. That's once I come set. Now, let's say we got a runner on. The way they should be taught, when they come on the rubber, they get on just like this, and he can look now over there because he hasn't come set yet. All right? It's once he comes set, his shoulders have to stay still. So, can I look over there and then come down? Absolutely. But once I'm set, I can't do this. That is a balk. That's a real basic balk. Once I come set, I can just move my head and take a look. All right? Now, when you step off the rubber, a pitcher must step off with his pivot foot. All right? It's the same foot. When you step off the rubber, it's the same foot and the same side as his throwing hand. So I'm right-handed. I can't really emulate left-handed. In another video, we'll bring in a left-hander to show you what they can get away with and what they can't do and cannot do, or can do. So here we go with the right-hander. Let's get back to this. If he comes set, he can step off. All right. Now in youth ball, you'll see the kids a lot of times stand right on the rubber. That's okay. where they cannot be is behind the rubber. All right, they cannot be behind it and pretend that they're coming to a set position. That is a balk. All right, does everybody understand that? See where the foot is right there? I'm behind the rubber. If I'm on the rubber, it's okay. But if I'm behind the rubber and I emulate that I'm going to pitch, you want to call a balk right away. And we have videos on that. I'll show you how to call a balk. All right, so that's a nice easy one. Right-hander. So I come over here, I come set, I come to a complete stop, and if I go to first, I just throw to first. Okay, that's all right. You cannot fake to first base. You can't come set and then fake and not throw. That's why we always teach you to keep your eye on the ball, because a lot of times if they fake it and you're over there looking at first base as an umpire, you miss the balk. All right, so they cannot fake. Can they come to a stop and do this? Yes, you'll see that sometimes in the higher levels. They come to their stop and then they do this. They step back and they release simultaneously at the same time. That's okay. But if they go like this and then back, that's a balk. But make sure it's very obvious, all right? A lot of times they're just like this, and it's close. Sometimes it looks like they're pulling the ball out a little bit before. Don't be too picky on that. Just a quick little boom, like that. All right? Now, when they do that, they can't bring their hands back together and come together like that. You won't see them do that, but in the lower ball, you might, and you just give them a warning, tell them, no, no. Once you come off the rubber, you got to break your hands. You got to release your hands, break them, and start over. And they get on, they come to a stop, and then they can pitch or throw to first. Now, what is not a stop? For instance, they come like this. If they come down and bounce. Some people call that a change of direction, or you can call it a bounce, where they come down and then they're up again. So it would look like this. They'd come like this, and they pitch, okay? It's very simple to call this. Make them stop. That's all there is to it. Don't give it a gray area of, oh, he almost. Just make them stop. Boom. And he pitches. The whole idea is not to deceive the runners, and also not to quick pitch the batter. So again, if it's a little pop, that's a balk. If they come down and they don't, you know, a lot of them, as you get into the higher ranks in baseball, they'll come down and they'll make a real gray line, all right? You feel you got to warn them the first time, fine. But it's okay to balk the higher levels. If you're in high school, college, and upwards, it's okay to just balk them. They should know better. You're in the lower levels, go ahead and warn them and tell them they have to stop before they can pitch or throw to first base. So you can't, and you can't have what we call, you know, where they just go through with their hands. You'll see the move like this. They'll come in and they'll, like that. You notice how my hands just went through. They're just going through. They can't stop and kick at the same time. I mean, it's real simple, guys. You don't want to get into how close is it. If you just make it very black and white. If they come to a stop, that's all you got to worry about. They seem to do anything else and try to get tricky, just balk them and they'll stop it.